all of you today, and it's regarding the field of sport management and athletics. And we have Phil Lady here from SEMO Athletic Department to talk to you more about what goes on in his day-to-day life and in the field of sport management and collegiate athletics. So I'm going to pass it on to you, Phil.
Yeah, so Philip Lady, originally from Louisville, Kentucky. I've been in athletics since college. So I've actually had a little bit of an interesting path. I went to school at Murray State University. Went there. A lot of friends went there. Played baseball for a year and then realized I didn't have an end goal there, and I realized I was at a good place. So I played 1 year of college baseball at a small school, and then went to Murray and finished my degree plan. Was a just they didn't have sports management at Murray, so I was just a business and a marketing and management major, and that allowed me to volunteer and work in athletics. And it was something that, like, hey, sports has been a part of my life, the competitive nature of it from day one. That's something I wanted to continue in. So I volunteered for 2 years, and that allowed me to gain some behind the scenes experience, just helping where I could. Brought me to Southeast Missouri State as a graduate assistant. Worked here for 2 years as a GA. That was the good opportunity that was like kind of an everyday. It was the start of life for athletics. So graduated with my master's in higher education administration with an emphasis in sports management. There's two opportunities at SEMO kind of for the sports path for the master's degree, and that's the route I took. Graduated with my master's, went to the University of Tulsa for a year, worked as a marketing assistant. My boss at SEMO got promoted, allowed me to have an opportunity to come back in a full-time role. So I've done that, and I've been back full-time this is year 8. So with the other two GA years combined, kind of 10 years at SEMO and then the one at Tulsa. It's a great opportunity. It was something that I wanted to be a part of. Every day's different. It is busy, and there's lots of nights, there's lots of weekends, but there's a lot of fun, and it's really rewarding at the same time. So that was kind of my path. It's different for everyone, but since I've been back at SEMO, I had an opportunity to get promoted to my current role of assistant athletic director for marketing and engagement, and that's what I'm in today. And we're just trying to keep the train rolling and win as many events as possible.
So is there anything that you would change about your career path at all? Like, your journey, is there anything you would change?
No, I wouldn't have changed anything. But I would have, there's always opportunities to say, what if? Is the grass always greener? There's those questions, you'd like to see things, and it's not too late. I'm 31. So there's relatively, young in the career field. There's a lot of opportunities to advance and move, and people want to go Power 5 or people want to go pro, and there's different opportunities. The pro circuit tends to be a lot more cutthroat. It's sales driven 100% of the time, and if you don't hit those marks, they'll find somebody that can hit them. So the pro world is a little bit different. And like COVID year, for example, if the numbers there's no season, we don't need sales reps. So you're contingent on outside factors that you have no control over. I think with college athletics, it's a little more stable. We know we're going to be here. We know we have a role. And that's where I think our best opportunity is to help, educate student athletes, graduate them, and help make it the best 4 or 5 years of their life so they can develop and grow. And I think that I like the path that I've chosen, because the smaller schools, the smaller Division I, we have a chance to get my hands involved with a lot of student athletes and work with them. Where the Power 5 schools, you're kind of siloed and you don't have a chance to interact with all the sports. So I really like the path that I've chosen. I think that's one reason that I've stuck with kind of this level the whole time.
I think that's a great point you made on, the differences between, maybe a smaller Division I school like SEMO and a bigger school, or even that pro side, because I know that we have mutual friends that go all over the place, and it's just kind of depends on their end goal. So I know you said your day-to-day life looks so different. So can you walk us through, I know you mentioned working weekends and nights. Let's pick out one of those days. What does a weekend look like for you in the field of sport management?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we'll use this weekend. This past weekend we just had so we had soccer and gymnastics at the exact same time on Friday. So they both are competing in venues right next door to each other, which is kind of helpful because we kind of split. Half of us go here, half of us go here, but we're also right there in the event we need each other. Um, and it's raining completely at soccer, so we have to adjust kind of what we do operationally at soccer with fan support, safety, trying to keep things dry and passable. So we're getting that ready. So I would say that Friday mostly is kind of an 8 to 5, getting things ready for the event. And then, kind of when the event gets started at 6 o'clock, doors open at 5. We're there probably around 4, just to make sure things are up to par. So we kind of go through the workday to prepare, for upcoming events for that weekend. Saturday was a rare off day. Not complete off day because there's a little bit of transition where we got to pick up the gymnastics floor and then put down the volleyball court. There's some behind the scenes, but in terms of like actual events, we were finished. Sunday had a football game, which is rare for the spring. So at 2 o'clock football game, I got there at 9. Which is a little later than I typically would have in a fall season. But with COVID and limited tailgating and things of that nature, we're not doing like the amount of like pre-production tailgate stuff that we normally do. But I was still there, 5 hours early to get set up and make sure things are ready. Gates open at 1 o'clock there. Football at 2. Football got done around, by the time setup was done, 6. That's the time doors open for volleyball at 7. Volleyball match at 7, and then we were done by 9:30, and then we have another match today at 3 o'clock here this afternoon that we're gonna pick our right where we left off. And then I'm not gonna keep going, but like we have softball on Wednesday, and then we have baseball on Friday and Saturday, along with soccer on Friday. So
Oh my God, please tell me you take a nap at some point during your week.
You get though you say that, and it's a lot of events and you're true, but you start to learn just kind of how it works, and you learn time management, and you learn like what needs to be done when to make sure that things are done in a timely fashion. So I mean, I'm working right now realistically for let's call it our final football game in 2 weeks. Like everything that's happening this week has kind of already been done in terms of like the preparation and planning. So right now I've turned a lot of attention to things that are 2 weeks away to make sure that those get so we don't get caught when the time comes. So it is busy, but it's fun. It's rewarding. I think we went 8-2, 8-3 on the weekend or so. So it's like, hey, you got to see some, really good, outcomes from a lot of the sports.
Absolutely. So my next question is, when you talk about we, obviously it's not just a one-person show. Okay, what is the entire athletic department look like, and then different areas, and if those areas require a bachelor's degree versus a master's degree? So if you don't mind touching base about that.
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, because there's a lot of different routes you can take when it comes to sports. I think that when you talk about degree plans, though, bachelor's is required for all of them, but master's isn't necessarily required, but it does separate you from the other person that might have a bachelor's. And that's where experience comes into. You always hear the term experience and like, oh, did you, work for minimal to free just to get your exposure? But I think it's like, I want to work in sports. Sports sounds cool. But you don't want to become a senior in college and you've kind of been there for 4 or 5 years, and it's like, well, what have you done? You want a job next year, but you have these other students who have been doing things for 3 or 4 years. Well, you're going to take the one who's done the stuff for 3 or 4 years versus the recent graduate. And I think that's the biggest thing, is like, hey, you don't have to do a lot, but just be involved, be around, ask questions, learn just the ins and outs, so that you're not brand new at the age of 22 or 23 when you graduate and you say, oh, I want to work in sports. And it's like, well, the person that's been doing it for 4 years has a step up on you. I work in marketing and promotions, so that's like the external arm of things. I really like it because I like interacting with our student athletes. I like interacting with fans. I like having a direct input on game environment, themes, things of that nature. We also have our ticketing office. That's a lot more behind the scenes, handling the operations of processes and procedures of just selling tickets, renewing season ticket holders. That's a lot of phone calls, talking with hundreds of ticket holders and donors that we have. So that's an outlet for people. We have our compliance office. Compliance is really internal. So that's like the rules and regulations. Those are the ones that work with the NCAA to make sure we're following the rules. A lot more of a desk job, following the law, the legal law of like compliance of the NCAA, and making sure that we're doing things correctly. So when you see across the nation when schools get in trouble, like those are the people that enforce that and make sure that student athletes and coaches are doing the right things. Totally different than what I do. Literally probably the exact opposite. I have to follow compliance rules, and I know enough of what I can and can't do to make sure that student athletes, our coaches, aren't like jeopardized. And when it comes to just following the rules. But in terms of the day-to-day side of things, I have a lot more nights, weekends, external responsibilities than I guess compliance would. We also have our sports information department. There are a lot of stats, newspaper articles, working with the media and television. They handle our press releases. They handle like any of the post-game reports and just stat sharing from events. That's all them. And that's a lot of, it's very technical. And you got to do it for every event. So they have a lot of events that, even though a lot of the events that I talk about when it comes to working, they're doing that for all the away events also. So they're writing recaps and working with stats for all the away events. And they have to do home and away. So that's difficult for them. And they travel a lot more than I would on a regular basis with the teams when they can. COVID's a different year where they're not traveling near as much as they usually do. We have our video department, our guys who do, our highlights, so video and photography at events. Our guy here is great. He's a one-man shop, but some of the big schools have multiple, but he does a really good job. We have my supervisor handles a lot of the sponsorship, fulfillment, sales, for signage and game sponsors, and basically the ability to raise money so we can keep doing what we do. I work very closely with him to help with that process and then fulfilling that sponsorship as well. So he does that. And then we also have, our athletic director and our associate ADs, and they handle a lot of the internal, processes and things that come up, across campus, working with all the behind the scenes things. It's not as glamorous for them always because all the problems come across their desk a lot of times. We also have our facilities and event management. Those are the ones that handle just the maintenance of facilities, making sure work orders are done if things need to be completed, handling officials. So from an operational side of things, they're very hands-on when it comes to events. So those are a lot of the different, administrative staff when it comes to our building. And then you have all your coaching and things of that nature with operations. But that's what we do in our building.
Wow, that's a lot of people. So for students, you mentioned about internships and volunteering early on in our interview. What does that look like for maybe high school students who are entering, the college scene, who are really interested into this? And, would you suggest staying local, or would you suggest them branching out and, taking maybe minor league internships and positions, or staying in their college town? What would be your suggestion?
You can get it done both ways. In summer, so I would ask people to branch out when they can. I would say have the opportunity to go to a minor league in a summer, something for like a short-term period to see how it's done. That's more professional. And then what they do at minor league baseball is transferable to anything, whether it's pro, college, etc. But it can be in your local town because you can do it. Now, the one thing I would suggest is not maybe doing it in your local town for like 4 straight years. Maybe then do a couple and then try to see something different just for comparison. But I do think that the opportunity for to see different sports, and whether that be pro or baseball or in the summer or winter, does provide you different avenues. That was the opportunity that I had a chance to work in some summer stuff as well, and I think that it's a good opportunity for anybody to get involved however they can.
Yeah. Now, someone involved in sports, okay, and your life is basically sports. How do you separate your passion for it and you still enjoy your job day in and day out? I know it could be a tough one, but like, I know March Madness is coming up. How can you just like watch it and enjoy it when you're actually doing all this stuff day in and day out?
It's killing us inside. We try to like keep a straight face, but it really is. We're invested. So I've said I've been at SEMO for about 10 years on, a couple different roles, but I think the ability to you don't want to get too high and you don't want to get too low. You don't want the wins to be too great because you don't want to get too, invested. You want to, kind of stay level-headed. When you're working the events too, like you can't let emotion or get caught watching if you have things to do. If you're doing scoreboard or if you're doing the video board or if you're working, like you can't get caught watching because like in baseball, if it's a ball or a strike, you have to put it up on the board. So we all have been working towards common goals with coaches for years and years and years. And for us to achieve that, you want to celebrate when you can, but at the same time, the losses hurt too. You have to just keep a straight face, or you kind of got to keep your composure because there is the fandom in us that the competitive nature, we all want to win. But it's part of it. It's fun. We lost in football in double overtime yesterday and it hurt. But we have to turn around and we have to prepare for it in the next couple of weeks, just like the team does. And you want to be with them, win and lose, and you support them one way or the other. And you just can't let the emotion get the best of you.
That's a good one. My last question is, if you had to give advice to yourself when you were in high school and you were, starting this career exploration, what would you say to students who are just maybe figuring this out, starting this journey? Maybe they're confused about what they want to do as a career.
Get involved early. I mean, that's literally because we want to see what works. I actually did an internship for my master's in compliance. And because I wanted to see literally the opposite of what I do. And so I was doing the external, I was doing marketing and promotions, I was doing that. And I wanted to see what compliance was like. And I wanted to see the APR calculator and the clearinghouse. And I wanted to see how students were eligible and how that like all tied together. I knew it wasn't for me after that internship, but I did want to see how it worked. It was just, it's a different world, quite honestly.
See, I love that part of my compliance internship. I thought it was great.
Oh, I enjoyed it for what it was worth. I enjoyed the semester, but I didn't want to live it. So I was glad to have seen how it works. I just didn't want to live it. So when I was at Murray as an undergrad and I volunteered, I got to experience a lot of things. It's like behind the scenes, you have a chance to shadow different sports and see how the inner workings work. And you get to meet people and it's like, oh, hey, I remember you when you were a student here. And now when I come to SEMO and now we cross paths with Murray and I still know people that I've worked with there and I still see them and talk to them and we have a good relationship. Networking in the industry is kind of crazy. There's 351 Division I schools. And there's 10,000 employees across all of them. And at a conference, you see people, but over the years, you start to learn and meet people, and people go to different schools. And now we have a network. Like I have interns that have worked in professional sports that work for the Chicago Fire. I have interns that now went to USC, Southern Cal. He's now at Northern Arizona. So follow him in his path. I have people at Eastern Michigan that works for me. I have people, there's people that I've worked with at other major schools. And we have a chance. So when we all go different places, we have a chance to keep in touch and, hey, what's working for you? We've talked a lot during COVID. Hey, what are you doing in terms of fan attendance and how are you limiting tailgating and how are you seating people in the venue? And the networking is really huge. And the earlier you can get involved to see and meet and learn the understanding the behind the scenes business aspect of athletics, it can only help.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Phil. We really appreciate you hopping on and giving us the inside scoop about your day-to-day life in the field of sport management within college athletics.
We just took 10, 15 minutes, and that's just a snippet of athletics. And it's a fun industry. It's rewarding. It's tough. Everybody, it's like, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be an athletic director. And it's like, why? Always have a vision, know what you want to get involved in. To be honest, I don't know if I want to be an athletic director, probably not. I think my goal is to be a number 2. Be the associate AD that can work alongside, have a lot of responsibility, work with sports, but the amount of pressure that athletic directors have to handle is extreme. And I thought I wanted to be an AD too, and maybe I do. I still have time, but I wanted to see associate AD. I wanted to see how I can do all the same things, but not have the pressures of the athletic director and still have a really good life. But I mean, I'm easy to find on our GoSoutheast.com website. Email me with any questions. Like, we're all accessible when we can. It might not be immediate. We'll get to you today or tomorrow, but depending on what we have going on. But we can answer questions and clear things up. And always looking for, COVID's a bad time, but when it comes to high school, we've had people come and shadow on career days and stuff. And you know, a lot of those for you to really get the experience is probably more of an afternoon, evening kind of thing. But we accept those a lot, where people shadow, not even just in high school, but our college students at the sports management program as well. We utilize them as interns for their degree plan, and we try to let them see behind the scenes. And we're willing to take any help we can get, extra set of hands to maybe throw out some T-shirts, or maybe have a chance to pass out home run coupons, or even run the video board a little bit with my help. I think it's a chance to see how it works and see if that's a life you want to live, because the normal 8 to 5 desk job really doesn't exist in athletics. It's very on the go. Now, there's times where summers are a little tamer, where you can kind of get away a little bit, but you know, I've had the opportunity to go to Montana. I've had the opportunity to go to Utah. I've had the opportunity to travel to major SEC football stadiums, Ole Miss, Arkansas, and see a football game day environment there as an away team. It's been a lot of fun, and there's always a lot to take away from it, and it's a lot more fun when you're winning. But it's a chance that, you know, whenever my time's done in athletics, whether it's when I retire or my next career venture, I'll be able to look back and I'll be thankful for the people that I've met and the places that I've been.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I hope our students learned a lot. I know I did. And I think it's something, you mentioned a lot of things to consider and something for them to think about if they are going into this field. So thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks. And like I said, any questions, or if anybody follows up with you, just let me know and we'll get it answered, okay?
Perfect. Thank you.